There is a silence that visits the mind in old age, a silence not of peace, but of forgetting. You open the fridge and cannot recall why. You speak a name and it vanishes before it reaches your tongue. You walk into a room and wonder what brought you there. These moments come quietly, but they stay and they multiply. For many, this fading of mental clarity feels like losing parts of yourself, memories, words, confidence. It's not just about forgetting a date or misplacing keys. It's the quiet fear that perhaps the best parts of you are slipping away unnoticed. I have seen proud minds dim too soon, minds once sharp as blades, now dulled by time and inflammation, by neglect and silence. But I have also seen another path, one where the fire of cognition, though flickering, is not extinguished but nourished. The truth is this: the brain is not simply an organ of thought, it is a living garden. And even in later seasons, it can bloom if given the right soil, the right sunlight, the right care. Today, I invite you into a gentle remembering. A remembering that the aging brain is not a curse, it is an invitation. An invitation to nourish it with the elements it needs. Not magic, not miracles, but nutrients. Simple, natural, often forgotten, that quietly rebuild what time tries to take. Let us walk this path together. In the temple of the mind, thoughts move like the wind over still water, gentle, fluid, and free. But in time, even the clearest lake becomes clouded if the streams that feed it run dry. This is what happens to the aging brain. The clarity we once moved through, the ease of memory, of focus, of language, begins to falter. It is not always sudden. Sometimes it is like mist settling in. We forget a word, a face, a reason. And slowly, silently, the world becomes harder to hold on to. But the mind, like water, can be replenished. There is a kind of nourishment that flows through us, not always seen, but always felt. It is called omega-3, a group of fatty acids, DHA, EPA, ALA, that serve as the oil in the gears of cognition. They do not shout, they do not rush, but they are essential. Our brain is nearly 60% fat, not the kind we avoid, but the kind we were made from. DHA in particular forms the structure of brain cell membranes. Without it, communication between neurons falters, inflammation rises, the mind tires. Scientific studies have shown that consistent intake of omega-3 fatty acids improves working memory, slows age-related cognitive decline, and even reduces the risk of Alzheimer's disease. A study published in Neurology found that seniors with higher levels of DHA had better performance on memory tests and fewer brain abnormalities on MRI scans. EPA, another form of omega-3, plays a quieter but equally vital role, reducing systemic inflammation. Inflammation is a thief. It doesn't just affect joints and the heart, it invades the brain, clouding thought, dulling clarity. EPA fights this fire at its source, but here is the truth many overlook. The body does not make omega-3s on its own. It must be given, offered, like a daily act of care. The most potent sources come from the sea: salmon, mackerel, sardines, anchovies. For those who walk a plant-based path, flax seeds, chia seeds, and walnuts provide ALA, though the conversion to DHA and EPA is limited. So how much does an aging mind need? For adults over 65, most research supports a daily intake of at least 1,000 milligrams of combined EPA and DHA. For therapeutic purposes, such as slowing cognitive decline, up to 2,000 milligrams per day may be appropriate under medical guidance. Supplements can bridge the gap when diet falls short. Fish oil capsules, krill oil, or algae-based DHA for vegetarians are widely available, but always look for brands tested for purity, free of mercury and heavy metals. But even here, there are cautions. Omega-3s can thin the blood. For those on anticoagulants or preparing for surgery, dosages must be carefully considered with a physician, and too high a dose beyond 3,000 milligrams daily can cause gastrointestinal discomfort or interact with medications. Balance is the principle, not excess, not avoidance. I remember an elder who once came to me. His memory was fading, and with it, his confidence. "I don't feel like myself," he said. "I feel slippery inside." I spoke to him not just of meditation, but of meals, of nourishment. Within months, his mind began to return, not as it once was, but steadier, calmer, more present. It is not only the breath that brings clarity, it is the blood that carries it, the food that sustains it, the oil that smooths it. When you eat with care, you meditate without sitting. When you choose what enters your body, you honor what exits your mind. Let this be your reminder. Nourishment is not indulgence, it is wisdom in action. And so we begin our journey not with a pill or a mantra, but with the sea, with the quiet strength of omega-3s. But this is only the first element. There are other forms of fuel, hidden, often overlooked, that the mind still longs for. In the next step, we will explore a different kind of current, one that carries not oil but electricity, a spark that reawakens the silent pathways of the aging brain. We will speak of vitamin B12 and the light it brings to fading circuits. Let us continue. There is a kind of tiredness that sleep does not heal, a fog that lingers even after the body rests. You wake, but you are not fully awake. You listen, but cannot quite grasp. The mind tries to rise, but something pulls it down, a heaviness, soft and invisible. I have sat with many elders who feel this weariness. They speak not only of forgetting names, but of forgetting themselves. It's like someone turned down the brightness, one man told me. I'm here, but dim. This dimming, I have come to understand, is often not from age alone. It is from deficiency, not of will or of wisdom, but of a small, vital spark, vitamin B12. The brain is not merely a container of memory. It is an electric instrument. Every thought, every word, every feeling moves through it like current, and like all circuits, it requires power. Vitamin B12 is that power source. It helps build myelin, the protective sheath around nerve fibers. Without enough B12, the nervous system frays. Signals slow, memory weakens, mood drops. This is not theory, it is science confirmed. A study in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition found that even marginal B12 deficiency in older adults was linked to cognitive decline and brain volume loss. In another trial, elderly patients with low B12 showed significant improvement in memory and attention after supplementation. But here is the quiet truth. As we age, our ability to absorb B12 declines. The stomach produces less acid, which is essential to release B12 from food. Even with a balanced diet, many seniors unknowingly fall into deficiency. And so the light fades, slowly, subtly. Where does B12 come from? Primarily from animal-based foods, beef liver, eggs, dairy, fish, and poultry. Eggs, especially their yolks, are a rich and accessible source of B12, yet they come with a quiet caution. The yolk contains cholesterol, which may concern those with heart disease or diabetes. Still, for most older adults in good health, 1 egg per day is considered safe and often beneficial. But in many elders, food alone may not be enough. That's why supplementation is often necessary, especially for those over 65. How much is needed? For healthy adults, the recommended daily intake is 2.4 micrograms. But for older individuals, doctors often suggest 500 to 1,000 micrograms per day in supplement form, particularly if deficiency is present or suspected. There are several forms. Cyanocobalamin, most common and widely studied. Methylcobalamin, naturally occurring, better retained by the body. Sublingual tablets or injections for those with absorption issues. Injections are often prescribed when deficiency is severe. Otherwise, oral or sublingual forms are effective and convenient, but even here, attention is required. Cautions. Excessive intake is rare to cause harm as B12 is water-soluble. The body excretes what it doesn't need. Still, B12 can mask signs of folate deficiency, another nutrient tied to cognitive health, so both should be monitored together. Those with kidney disease or certain genetic mutations may need personalized dosing. The principle is not simply to consume, but to absorb. A mindful life requires a mindful approach to nourishment. I once met a woman who, at 72, thought her mind was simply getting old. Her hands tingled, her balance was off. She cried often without knowing why. After tests, her doctor found severe B12 deficiency. Months of high-dose supplementation later, her eyes lit up. "I feel like someone opened the curtains," she said. This is what B12 can do, not just for memory, but for presence. In meditation, we speak of awareness as a flame. If that flame dims, it is not always because it is dying. Sometimes it simply lacks fuel. Let us not confuse decline with destiny. To care for the aging mind is not vanity, it is reverence. And B12, though small, is a sacred offering to the neural temple within. So now we have kindled two lights on our journey, omega-3 and B12. One flows like oil, the other sparks like fire. But what of warmth? What of the sun? In the next step, we turn our attention to a force that is not only physical but spiritual, a nutrient that touches every cell and yet is often absent in the lives of elders, vitamin D, the sunlight that must sometimes come from within. Let us continue. In the early morning, before the world wakes, there is a quiet warmth that spills through the trees, a light that touches the skin and speaks to something deep inside us. The body softens, the spirit lifts, and even the oldest among us feel, if only for a moment, alive again. That warmth is not merely emotional, it is biological. It is sunlight, yes, but it is also vitamin D. What many do not realize is that this vitamin is not only for the bones, it is for the brain. It is for the mind, it is for the clarity that grows dim when light becomes scarce. You see, the brain is not just an organ of thought, it is a garden of receptors. And in nearly every region that governs mood, memory, and cognition, vitamin D is needed. Without it, the soil dries, the garden contracts, shadows grow. Studies now confirm what ancient wisdom always intuited, that vitamin D deficiency is closely linked to cognitive decline in the elderly. In a large observational study published in JAMA Neurology, seniors with low levels of vitamin D were significantly more likely to experience faster decline in memory and executive function. Another study from the University of Exeter found that individuals with severe vitamin D deficiency were over twice as likely to develop dementia. But here lies the silent danger. Most people over 65 are deficient and they don't know it. Why? Because as we age, the skin becomes less efficient at synthesizing vitamin D from sunlight. We also spend more time indoors, and the kidneys, which help activate this vitamin, lose function over time. Add to this the use of sunscreen, and even those who live under clear skies can quietly fall into insufficiency. And so the light fades, not just around us, but within. Where can vitamin D be found? The natural sources include fatty fish like salmon and sardines, egg yolks, fortified milk, cereals, sunlight, ideally 15 to 30 minutes of midday exposure on bare skin several times a week. Egg yolks are a valuable source of vitamin D. Yet, for older adults managing high cholesterol or cardiovascular conditions, daily intake should be considered with medical guidance. 1 egg per day is generally safe for most healthy seniors, especially when balanced within a nutrient-rich diet. But for many seniors, diet and sun exposure are not enough. What is the recommended dosage? For adults over 65, most health authorities recommend 800 to 2000 IU of vitamin D 3 daily to maintain healthy levels. Blood levels of 25-hydroxyvitamin D should ideally stay above 30 nanograms per milliliter, with 40 to 60 nanograms per milliliter considered optimal for brain and immune health. In cases of deficiency, doctors may prescribe high-dose vitamin D 5,000 to 10,000 IU for short periods, followed by maintenance doses. Forms of supplementation, vitamin D3 cholecalciferol is preferred over D2 as it is more effectively utilized by the body. Available in soft gels, tablets, sprays, or liquid drops. Some formulas include vitamin K2, which helps with calcium metabolism and may offer added benefits for vascular health. Precautions to consider. While vitamin D toxicity is rare, prolonged use of extremely high doses, over 10,000 IU per day, can lead to calcium buildup, kidney damage, or nausea. Those with kidney disease, hyperparathyroidism, or on certain medications should monitor levels closely. Always test before aggressively supplementing, especially if symptoms like fatigue, confusion, or muscle weakness appear. The lesson here is simple. Even the sun, which seems ever-present, must be welcomed consciously. I recall an elderly man who had grown fearful of walking outside. "My bones ache, and my mind is slow," he told me. When tested, his vitamin D levels were nearly non-existent. After 3 months of daily supplementation and gentle sunlight exposure, his posture changed, his speech quickened. "I feel like someone turned on a light," he said. What we call light is not always visible. Sometimes it lives quietly in the cells, waiting to be awakened. To care for your brain is not just to eat or think well. It is to bring light back into places that have gone dim. So now our journey has illuminated 3 forces: the oil of cognition, omega-3, the spark of memory, B12, and now the light that nourishes from within, vitamin D. Yet there are still 2 more. In the next step, we will turn not to a vitamin, but to a spice, a golden root long honored in the East and now recognized in the West, for its power to calm inflammation and awaken clarity. We will speak of curcumin and the healing it brings to both body and thought. Let us walk onward. There is a silence deeper than quiet, a stillness not of the body but of the fire within. It is the silence of healing, of inflammation cooling, of balance returning after long absence. In the East, we call this stillness by many names, but in the language of medicine, it often begins with curcumin, the golden compound hidden within the humble root of turmeric. I have seen this root dried and crushed in the kitchens of elders, stirred into teas, folded into soups, burnt into incense. It is not new, but what science now reveals only confirms what tradition always knew, that curcumin holds a profound power, not only for the joints and heart, but for the aging brain. Inflammation is the slow fire behind much of what we call aging. It burns beneath the surface, affecting not just the body, but cognition. It disrupts communication between neurons. It accelerates plaque buildup. It dulls clarity. The mind becomes not just slower, but fogged, fatigued, and anxious. Curcumin, a potent anti-inflammatory and antioxidant, moves gently through this fire. Several studies now support its role in brain health. In a randomized controlled trial published in the American Journal of Geriatric Psychiatry, participants over age 50 who took 90 milligrams of bioavailable curcumin twice daily for 18 months showed significant improvement in memory and attention, as well as reduced amyloid plaques, a hallmark of Alzheimer's disease, on brain scans. Another study from UCLA observed similar outcomes, linking curcumin to improved mood and focus in older adults. But curcumin's strength is not in power, it is in presence. Unlike pharmaceuticals, it works subtly, gradually, like still water, wearing away stone. So how can we welcome it into our lives? Effective dosage. Most studies on cognitive benefits use 180 to 500 milligrams of curcumin per day, specifically in bioavailable forms such as curcumin with piperine, black pepper extract, or liposomal micronized formulations. Traditional turmeric powder used in cooking contains only about 3% curcumin by weight, so culinary doses alone may not provide therapeutic benefits. Supplementation tips. Always choose standardized extracts with enhanced absorption. Curcumin alone is poorly absorbed by the body, but when combined with piperine, absorption can increase by up to 2,000%. Take with a meal containing fat, which further supports absorption. But like all things sacred, even this golden stillness comes with balance. Precautions. In high doses, curcumin may cause digestive discomfort such as nausea or diarrhea. It may thin the blood, so those on anticoagulants like warfarin or aspirin should consult a physician before use. People with gallbladder disease, ulcers, or bile duct obstruction should also approach turmeric supplements cautiously. The lesson is this: healing does not always come in force. Sometimes it arrives as warmth, as steadiness, as stillness. I remember a retired school teacher who came to me not for spiritual guidance, but for clarity. "I'm not sick," she said, "but I don't feel sharp anymore." We spoke of stress, of sleep, of inflammation. I invited her to explore curcumin, not as a cure, but as a companion. Over time, her words became clearer, her emotions steadier. "It's like the noise in my mind has softened," she said. "That is the essence of curcumin, not to replace thought, but to quiet the fire that distorts it. In meditation, we do not force silence, we create the conditions for it. In the body, curcumin does the same. So now we have walked with 4 companions: omega-3, the oil of clarity; B12, the spark of memory; vitamin D, the light within; and curcumin, the golden stillness. Yet one final element remains, a whisper found not in oils or roots, but in color, in the vibrant hues of berries, teas, and dark-skinned fruits, compounds that dance through the blood like music, nourishing not just the brain, but the joy of thinking itself. Next, we will enter the world of flavonoids and learn how nature's quietest chemicals compose a symphony of brain resilience. Let us continue. There are moments when the mind feels like a concert long forgotten, once vibrant, full of rhythm and harmony, now distant, faint echoes in a silent hall. You remember the melody, but cannot follow the tune. Thoughts come disjointed, emotions lose their color, and life feels quieter than it used to be. But sometimes the music returns, not all at once, but gently. A note here, a rhythm there, a soft remembering of who you are. Among the quiet architects of this return are flavonoids, natural compounds found in the deep reds of berries, the green calm of tea leaves, the bitter richness of cocoa. They do not announce themselves, but within them lies a symphony of resilience, protecting and reviving the aging brain. Flavonoids are powerful antioxidants and anti-inflammatory agents. They improve blood flow, reduce oxidative stress, and stimulate the growth of new neurons, a process known as neurogenesis. Most notably, they enhance brain plasticity, the brain's ability to adapt, heal, and form new connections, even in later years. Science has caught up with this subtle wisdom. A large study published in Frontiers in Aging Neuroscience showed that higher dietary intake of flavonoids was linked to slower cognitive decline in older adults. Participants who consumed flavonoid-rich foods, especially berries, tea, and cocoa, performed better on memory and executive function tests. Another research paper in Nature Neuroscience found that older adults given a high flavanol cocoa drink for 12 weeks showed improved blood flow to the brain and better performance on memory tasks. But the beauty of flavonoids is not only in their effect, it is in how they ask us to live. To benefit from flavonoids is not to take a pill, it is to eat with color, with presence, with care. Sources of flavonoids include berries, blueberries, strawberries, blackberries, raspberries, cocoa, preferably dark chocolate, at least 70%, cacao, green and black tea, and even red wine in moderation, leafy greens, onions, and even herbs like parsley and thyme. Recommended intake: there is no standardized daily requirement for flavonoids, but research suggests that 500 to 1,000 milligrams per day of total flavonoids can provide protective benefits for cognition. This is best achieved through a diverse, plant-rich diet, rather than isolated supplements. For example, 1 cup of blueberries contains around 400 milligrams of flavonoids. 1 cup of green tea contains 150 to 200 milligrams. 1 ounce of dark chocolate can provide up to 200 milligrams depending on cacao content. How to use them wisely? Choose whole, fresh, and minimally processed foods. Combine them with healthy fats like nuts or yogurt to enhance absorption. Drink tea slowly. Eat berries without rush. let the ritual become part of the medicine. Precautions. While generally safe, concentrated flavonoid extracts, especially in supplement form, may interfere with medications such as blood thinners or blood pressure drugs. Always consult your physician before adding high-dose supplements. For those sensitive to caffeine, green and black tea should be consumed earlier in the day. But in truth, flavonoids are not only nutrients. They are an invitation to return to the joy of tasting, the art of savoring, the mindfulness of nourishment. I remember a widower who told me he had lost interest in food, and with it, lost his sense of self. I invited him not just to eat, but to listen, to let his tongue hear again. He began with berries, then tea, then chocolate shared with his granddaughter. I didn't just remember food, he told me. I remembered feeling alive. So now our path nears its end. We have not offered magic nor escape from aging, but we have illuminated 5 quiet guardians of the mind. Omega-3, the fluidity of thought. B12, the spark of connection. Vitamin D, the light within. Curcumin, the calm of healing. Flavonoids, the music of memory. Each one is a thread, alone, subtle. Together, a tapestry. And if you remember nothing else, remember this. Your mind, no matter its age, is not a fading song. It is a living instrument. With care, with patience, with nourishment, it can sing again. Let us walk in peace. Knowledge alone does not bring transformation. It is in the doing, in the quiet rituals of each day, that the mind finds strength again. After learning of the 5 secret nutrients that nourish the aging brain, you may wonder, what else can I do? What small habits, when repeated, become a path toward mental clarity and peace? Let us explore. 1. Move every day, even gently. The brain thrives on motion, not intense effort, but rhythm. When you walk, when you stretch, when you move with breath, blood flows to the brain. Oxygen rises, neurotransmitters awaken. Studies have shown that 30 minutes of light exercise daily, such as walking, tai chi, or yoga, can improve memory, mood, and attention. Even 10 minutes of conscious movement is better than stillness drowned in screens. Let your body move, not in punishment, but in celebration. 2. Sleep is sacred. Sleep is not a break from life. It is a sacred cleansing. During deep sleep, the brain clears waste, resets chemicals, consolidates memory. Without restful sleep, even the best nutrients lose their power. Keep a rhythm. Sleep and wake at the same times. Avoid screens an hour before bed. Create darkness. Drink warm tea. Let the body prepare to surrender. For older adults, 7 to 8 hours of sleep per night is not indulgence, it is maintenance. 3. Protect your inner world from noise. The brain does not only digest food, it digests experience. And in today's world, noise is everywhere. News, arguments, screens, worries. Make time each day for mental silence. Even 5 minutes of mindful breathing lowers cortisol and resets the nervous system. Listen to the sound of your breath. Sit by a tree. Write a few words in a quiet journal. The mind cannot heal in chaos. 4. Feed your curiosity. Mental strength is not preserved by repetition, but by novelty. When we stop learning, the brain begins to shrink, literally. Learn a new skill. Read poetry. Try painting. Take a new path on your walk. Speak to someone younger or older. Each unfamiliar experience challenges the brain to build new connections. Neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to rewire, remains alive even in old age. Feed it. 5. Connect deeply and often. Isolation is poison for the aging brain. You do not need a crowd. One true connection, one honest conversation each day can reduce the risk of depression and dementia. Emotional warmth is not a luxury, it is nourishment. Call someone you miss, share a meal, join a small group, let yourself be seen. 6. Eat with presence. All the nutrients we've discussed, omega-3, B12, vitamin D, curcumin, flavonoids, enter through your food, but how you eat matters as much as what you eat. Eat slowly, chew fully, Avoid multitasking while eating. Let your meals become a form of meditation. The body receives better what the mind honors. 7. Honor the breath. You cannot control aging, but you can always return to your breath. Each conscious breath brings oxygen to the brain. It lowers stress. It grounds you in the present moment. And the present moment is where clarity lives. Breathe deeply 3 times before each meal. When in doubt, return to breath. The mind is not restored through grand gestures. It returns through small sacred choices, repeated daily, held with care. You are not too old. It is not too late. The brain is listening. Feed it wisely. Live it gently. And now, as our path reaches its end, let us take one final step together. In the journey of life, there comes a time when the outside world begins to quiet and the inner world calls more clearly. We watch the body change. The face we see in the mirror is not the one we remember. Names slip, thoughts come slower, and for many, this brings fear. But aging is not the end of vitality. It is a return to simplicity, to stillness, to essentials. Your mind, though aged, is not broken, it is wise. And like any wise thing, it needs to be tended with patience, not pressure, with nourishment, not noise. The 5 nutrients we have explored, omega-3, vitamin B12, vitamin D, curcumin, and flavonoids, are not miracles. They are gentle allies. Given daily, they whisper to the brain, you are still needed, you are still capable. But food alone is not enough. What we choose to think, how we choose to move, when we choose to rest, and with whom we choose to share silence, these two are medicine. You are not powerless. Every breath is a chance to return. Every step, however slow, is a choice to continue. And every act of care toward your body, your mind, your spirit is a thread in the fabric of your resilience. The path does not end here. It only begins again, quietly within you. Walk gently, live slowly, and remember, the mind, when treated with kindness, will stay by your side until the very last breath. Let us walk in peace.